Hello everyone. In this lecture we'll be introducing harmony by creating chords using scale degrees in major keys. Ah yes, scale degrees. Well, as you remember, a scale can be named by scale degrees. So when looking at the scale above, we see that it starts at 1 and continues from there. In this case, we went an octave, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, 8 octave. Okay, that makes sense. Should be noted though, you could also restart. You could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 1. But the 8 signifies that you moved from your starting point. Should be noted though, if you say 8, you're going to keep going. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, left, 12. We'll spare you the stressing of my register. We also looked at songs, and we saw that a lot of songs began on 3 scale degrees, or at least the examples we saw, of 3, 5, and 8. But why? And why did that work? Well, let's keep going to harmony. Well, when we're talking about harmony, and triads is what we'll eventually be talking about, what we're talking about are chords, and chords can be formed in any scale, whether a major scale or not, or even if there's no scale at all. A chord is basically just playing multiple notes at one time. It's usually considered a minimum of 3 notes or more, otherwise it's called an interval, which we studied. In a harmonic context, though, such as a major scale, sometimes a 2-note interval, at least that outside of a unison or an octave, could be heard as a chord. Chords are the basis of Western music. So check me out singing Happy Birthday with a guitar. But first, let's hear it without the guitar. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear person. Happy birthday to you. Okay, now where did I get those notes? Well, you saw me grab one from the guitar. There's 2 notes that sound like a chord when I sing that note, like I was just talking about. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear person. Happy birthday to you. So you notice those notes went with the chords pretty well, right? Well, that's because the melody was based on chords, and specifically triads. Triads are when you stack 2/3 to form a chord. Or in this case, you have a note that's G, then we went A, B, 1, 2, 3. That was the second note was B, or the middle note, and then you have G, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 2/3. There's a third away and a third away. A triad. Triads, as I said, are the basis of harmony in a key. Should also be noticed, once a triad is made, it can be revoiced. Notice how this chord had G, B, D, but then it had another G, B, a D, and a G. So you had 3G and 2 Ds. It still sounds like a G chord if I only play the top notes. Kind of cool, right? We'll talk more about that later. Let's just figure out how to form these things. So let's do it. Let's make some triads. Well, I just kind of showed you how to do one on G, but let's do one on C. Well, C in this case would be here, C. And that's the middle C on the piano. What we're going to do is add a third above and then another third above that. So we have C, D, E, that's a third. Then you go E, F, G, C, E, G. Now we're going to see the distances from those to see what the quality of the chord is. Well, on the bottom, we see we have a major third, and we know that because we learned earlier, a major third is 4 keys away on the piano. So if you have C, which that should be the same C, good, guitars and two, then you have 4 keys away is a black key, white key, black key, white key, E. That's a major third, and it's you can kind of tell, kind of a happy sound. And then to get the minor third, if you have E 3 keys away, 1, 2, 3, that is the minor third, and we see that on the piano as well. And then 7 keys away is 1. So here's C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, takes you to G. All right, 3 plus 4, right? That's the perfect fifth. And as we learned before, 7 keys away is the perfect fifth. But let's figure out what to name these notes. Since we just looked at the intervals, what we're noticing is that those intervals are also how we refer to the notes in the chord. The root, or the first, is the lowest note. Then, the third was the middle note. Why? Because it was the third note in the scale. And likewise, the fifth note is the top note. The third note of the chord is actually the fifth note of the scale. Again, because we're skipping notes to create those triads. And if you notice, you skip the spaces and just stay on the lines. And this makes sense, again, if we're thinking of scale degrees. In fact, as you remember, if you went from C, you could create a perfect interval or a major interval every time you stepped. So, C to C is perfect unison, of course. C to D, major second. C to E, major third, and then let's skip the fourth. C to G, the perfect fifth. It should also be noticed, now we have a formula for a major chord. A major chord is always a major third on the bottom, C, D, E, or 1, 2, 3, 4 frets away, and then a minor third on top, which is 1, 2, 3 frets away. So you have major third, minor third. And although another way you could think about it is you have a major third and then a fifth away from C. So it's just kind of how you want it. You could think about these notes in a couple different ways to relationships. Major third on the bottom with a perfect fifth, or you could think about it major third with a minor third on top of it. Just all about relationships. Also, speaking of relationships, kind of a happy sounding chord. Okay, let's do another. Let's start on E this time. So here we are on E. That's the second note of that C chord. And now, again, let's add a third above that and another third above that. So then you've got E, G, B. So let's check the distances. Well, on the piano, we see E to G, if you remember, was a minor third. How do we know? Well, because it was 1, 2, 3 keys away. And we see that again here. Here's E, white key, black key, G, or 3 frets. You could also think about E to F as that half step, followed by the whole step, where you're skipping the black key to get to G. Now, let's go from G to B. Well, I actually just talked about that a moment ago with the G chord. Well, yeah, it was major, right? It was 4 keys away. So looking at the piano, we see, black key. Okay, G is a white key. Then you have black key, white key, black key, white key. B. Cool. That's 2 whole steps. And we saw that on the guitar. If we have G, if you went 1, 2, 3, 4, that takes you to B. Also notice from E to B is very similar to, I just literally slid that on the guitar. That's what's kind of cool about the guitar. You can really hear the parallelism there. Yeah, you have a perfect fifth. Makes total sense. Same intervals, a major third and a minor third combined equals 7 keys. That's perfect fifth. So an E minor chord's form then is a minor third on the bottom, kind of that darker sound, with a major third above. Or which is the opposite of a major chord, right? A major chord was a major on the bottom with the minor on top. Here's E major versus E minor, right? And then, of course, you have that perfect fifth. So E minor and minor chords in general are kind of thought about as the darker, sadder sounding chords. But there's another exceptional chord that we're going to talk about. But we got to talk about that special interval from B to F in the key of C. Do you remember what it was? Well, that's this sound from B to F. Or I can do it up here. That's called the devil's tone, remember? This is the tritone for C major. And it's special because it's 6 keys away instead of 7, thus diminished. Perfect fifth, 7 keys. Diminished is smaller than a perfect fifth. And we can see that on the piano. There they are, the 6 keys that take us to F. Or if you want to do it up here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, F. Why does this matter? Well, watch what this does when you fill in this fifth. Because if we start on B and start adding thirds, we get this interesting chord. B to D, minor third. So B, 1, 2, 3 keys away. B, D. On the guitar, you can do so many unisons. It's kind of cool. So you have B, D, 3 keys away. Then you do that again. So you have D, and you're going to go, there's another D, 1, 2, 3, there's F, B, D, F. 2 minor thirds together add up to that diminished fifth. And it creates this really kind of spooky chord. It's not just dark, it's just like, whoa, that's something else. And it has a lot of cool properties as you study theory that kind of give you a lot of options in your harmonic progressions, which we'll talk about much later. But anyway, it's interesting to point out, this is the one chord like this in a major key. All other keys have perfect fifth, or excuse me, all other chords in any major key have perfect fifths. So let's figure out what all these chords are spelled out in the key of C major. But first, we need to do a little review. Let's start with those scale degrees again. Well, you remember we had a C major scale and we just started on 1. It's C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, F, 8, 1. Now we're going to add thirds to each of those. Well, let's do it. We've got C, E, D, F, E, G. Notice how you have happy, sadder, sadder. Then we have F, A, F, A is major. G, B, as we already heard, was major. A to C is minor. And then you had, we just talked about B to D is a minor third. Okay, those are the thirds. Remember this pattern from our homework? We actually looked at this and we identified it. It's a pattern that happens over and over in all major keys. And it's always the same. Also important to note, these are the thirds that color the chord. Remember, C to E was a major third, part of a C major triad. Well, we did G to B as well for Happy Birthday, also a major chord. We did E to G and found out it was a minor chord. Let's get the triads, though, fully spelled out so we can believe it. So here we have them. We just added a third above that third, right? So you now have C, E, G, 1, 3, 5, C major. Then you have D, F, A, D minor, 2, 4, 6. Then you have another minor chord, 3, 5, F, E, G, B. That's E minor. Then it goes to major. F, A, C, 4, 6, 1. F major chord, then you go up to 5, F, 2, G, B, D, G major chord, and now we're going up to A, C, E, 6, 1, 3, A minor. And this is that special diminished. 7, 2, 4, B to A. That's the B diminished. And again, notice how those colored this whole thing up until that diminished chord, which is just that special chord. All right, one last thing. Now what we're going to do is map these chords out with Roman numerals. It's a kind of a shorthand for what they are. So if you know a key and you know your notes, you could just say, oh, well, this is the 1 chord, and it's the capitalized Roman numeral 1. Then the lowercase means it's minor, which is 2, 3, minor. Up capitalized, that means we've got 4 is a major chord, which was F major. Then we have 5, again, major capitalized. Oh, minor is the 6th chord. Remember, 6 is 5 plus 1. I just had to redo this whole thing because I wasn't paying attention and I wrote 4. So the 1 Roman numeral I, or 1 really, which is I, before V, which is 5, means it's 4. Otherwise, if the 1 is after, you're adding, which is why we see sev with the little circle. That's a diminished symbol. So 6 is the A minor, sev. Cool. 7. I say sev sometimes because I just want to be one syllable. But when I'm saying sev, I mean 7. The purpose of this, though, is to help us analyze music. And it helps us understand patterns of chord shapes. So let's create this map using no flag. Okay, some technical difficulties, but back and at it again. We're going to make these chords, as we're going to say, in note flights. And how we're going to do it is we're going to start by just this scale. And you've done this a lot, so I'm not going to walk you through too much, but just creating a scale, a C major scale, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. And don't worry about C, which should be 8. But we're just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And you're going to write 1, C, 2, and we'll even listen to it. So we've got C, D, E, F, G, A, B. Cool. Then you're going to write out the thirds. So that's the next thing you do. You write C, E, D, F, E, G, F, A. So it's just those same things. You could even have just copied it. And then you're going to write the lyrics for that. And please work. Great. And this is what I wanted to show you. So you got to write the top note first, which in this case is 3E. And then you hit return, and you can write 1C. So you see how you get both in there? And you can keep going. So this is the second, or the bottom line. So then you have 2D. This is a scale, so you know this one already. 4F, 5G, 6A, 7B, and now we're going to do it from here. So you've got 4F, 5G, 6A, 7B, and it starts over at 1. 1C, 2D. Okay, cool. And then above, in performance text, please work again. Oh, this is awesome. We're going to do major third. And then this is a little tedious. Then you have to come here. And then you do performance text. That's minor third. Then you do it again. Performance text, minor third. You got performance text. Now a major third. Another major third. So you got F, A, G, G. Whoa, take that note away. G, B, A. Oh, by the way, keyboard helps you here. See, 1, 2, 3, 4. Great. We know it's a major third now. major third. And look at this. Let's take a look at C and E. 1, 2, 3. That's a minor third. So use that keyboard to help you guess. And then it's really not a guess, it's a pattern. You just copy it down, but understand why. And again, another minor third. And see how it's 1, 2, 3. Minor thirds. You can even play them. That's kind of cool. Then you, again, 1, 2, 3. See how the space is smaller? Space is bigger. 1, 2, 3, 4. Space is bigger. Hence major. Cool. Now you got the thirds. Now we're going to write out the chords. Do yourself a favor. Copy this. And I believe we can do this by going to Edit, Copy. Make sure you got it right. And then here we're going to put in Edit, Paste. Ooh, this might be tricky. So you got one more third above that. And then let's see if we can. Oh. All right, we're going to have to. Okay, now that I've annoyingly gotten all that text out of the way, I'm going to start again. Come here, get the lyrics, and we're going to have the top note first, which is 5G. Then you have 3E. Then you have 1C. So you got to go top to bottom there. And then we're going to go back. Okay, now we're on 1C. We're just going to keep going. Whoops. Keep going with that. So you got 2D, 3E, 4. Oh, that should be 4F, 4F, 5G, 6A, and 7B. So here we now do this. 4F, 5G, 6A, 7B, right? Because it's a G chord. Yep. 1C and 2D. Cool. And now we come here. 6A for that chord. You've got 7B. It starts over 1C, 2D, 3E, 4F. Got ahead of myself. So there you have the bottom note of the chord, middle, top, root, third, fifth. And up here, we got to mess with all this stuff. We're going to write the Roman numerals. This is 1. Roman numeral 1. That's the C major chord. Let's listen to it. So C major. Then we have lowercase D minor, E minor. This is silly. 5, 6 minor, and then of course we have this. It's never working. And then you can add in that little symbol for the diminished, which is actually pretty important, by going to emoji symbols. And it's this one. It wouldn't let me do it. That's funny. There it is. That's how you add that scale degree. So that is your reference for those chords. I would love for you to draw that out And then we're going to get to play with this a little bit next week. But let's just get that far for now. And what I'd like you to do is just what I did there, is create that chord chart with those three things. And then if you want to start playing with those chords and just writing out some music, just listening to the chords with whole notes, that would be cool. That's what we're going to do in the next video. Okay, have fun.